Yeah, I'm down like 56%.
Warning, the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Better than it used to be.
If you're looking
Probably.
for dull, feel-good religion, or clap your hands, sit around the campfire kumbaya, you've come to the wrong place. We are dealing with toxic levels of authentic masculinity. I would say good luck, but luck is for pagans.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. Adam and Ann here, sitting with David Niles. We are by ourselves this evening. Juan's not here. Jim's not here. Just as a reminder that Jim is our shipping and logistics manager of the Catholic Man Show. And so he's the one that ships all of our merchandise. His wife, Kathy, has been...
And he does it for free.
He does it for free for us.
Volunteer.
And Kathy, his wife, has been very generous and charitable in allowing us to hold inventory at their house.
Basically take over the upstairs.
Right. So we have some inventory. We have some really great hats, some shirts, some Catholic Man Show Glencairn glasses. We have some 16-ounce beer can
glasses, yeah,
which are great. So if you are looking for something to get a friend for summertime,
we also have a lot of shirts that are available all the time.
Right.
Even sweatshirts. I know it's summer.
Right. But we do have some
got
listeners that
maybe
in Alaska.
You have a friend in Maine or something.
Right. So go check that out. You can go to thecatholicmanshow.com. And check out our store. Jim would love to have some of that inventory gone.
He would. So would Kathy. I think
So
even
more. So Kathy.
Yeah.
So this evening we're having. Oh, by the way, also if you support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thecatholicmanshow, $10 or more a month, we will send you these whiskey glasses as a thank you gift. Here's the deal: the first month, if you go sign up as a $10 a month patron, the first month we lose money.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to give you this, a cool thank you gift. So a Catholic Man Show whiskey glass, and you support the show. You help us to continue the mission. So if you could donate $10 a month or more, we have a
check out our Patreon page.
Yeah.
There's stuff there.
And we do book clubs. We have audio books that we've done that are only exclusive to patrons. We have over 60 different.
We have a great course by Carlo Broussard about the 5 ways.
Yeah, if you're interested in
that was a fantastic course.
That was.
It's a deep dive.
It is a deep dive. It's heavy, but it's really good.
But also, Carlo is a great teacher.
Yes.
He really, and he put together all those study guides.
Yeah, specifically for us.
Yeah, that really make it so it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. So this evening we're having a Lowland. This is the last time we've had a Lowland.
It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time.
There's not very many of them.
There's not very many. That's right. Yeah. Glen Kinchy, 12-year.
Okay.
They used to have a 10-year. They upped it to 12 as their staple.
Okay.
And it's one of the only Lowlands out there. It's called the Edinburgh Malt.
Okay.
They're still about 3 hours away from that. But, when you only have so many distilleries from around Lowland, then you can claim.
So the nearest one is 3 hours away?
Well, Glenkinchy from Edinburgh.
Okay.
But
I was going to say, 3 hours, you
Malt.
can get across half of Ireland in 3 hours.
Yeah, but this is Scotland.
Oh, Scotland. Well, same thing. I mean, sure.
What I really liked about...
just as a point of fact, you can get across half of Ireland.
Right.
No, that doesn't... It's not very related.
Right. One really cool thing I liked about the box that they had they have a Highland, a Speyside, a Skye, a West Highland, and a Islay distillery. So they're promoting other distilleries on the box, which I think is cool.
Is this a blend or
no?
They're just
single malt.
They're just like, hey, here's some friends of ours.
Yeah, from each individual, each area of Scotland. So we're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers. Dave, I envision whenever you move out into have some land, as one does, as you do,
Okay, yes.
that it is a picture of just calm, easygoing.
Right.
You just kind of work your
The
land.
leisurely country living.
Right. You don't really have to bother anybody.
Right.
You just kind of you're just there, getting your hands dirty.
Just let nature be.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
No. That is not. Well, it could be.
But
you
just
could
has it-
you could do that if you want to, like, nothing to like, if you want to move out onto some land and just live there and then, like, watch it. All right. That's fine. But if you want to do anything, if you want to grow anything, raise anything, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's not going to be leisurely. It's a different kind of leisure. Let me put it that way. It's more of like you know how, like, children bring you, like, a lot of long-term satisfaction?
Right.
Often short-term satisfaction is, like, mysterious and lacking, you know? You don't feel very satisfied some days. You feel angry and frustrated
Right.
and tired. But in the end, it's like, that was so good. It's sort of like practicing an instrument. Everybody hates practicing, but once you practice enough and you can play it well, it's like one of the best things ever. So, the cows, they are the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to stories to tell about them. A guy at our camp out this last year, he told me that farming is the art of losing money slowly. Mm-hmm. And I am just really coming to a deeper and deeper appreciation of that reality. That is, in fact, the art of farming, losing money very slowly. So on Friday, I just am out. It's like I had a break in my work schedule, so I was going to go water the garden. I love watering the garden. Okay. It just feels good. You feel like you're doing something, like, productive and life-giving,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
it just is, it's nice to water the garden.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take very long. I'm out there just really loving what I'm doing. My cornfield is growing.
Yeah, you plant some corn.
Yeah, I've got a small cornfield, and that is bringing me a lot of satisfaction so far. But
Cy Kellett called you the modern day Thomas Jefferson.
yeah, I heard that. That's about the cornfield? That was in reference to the corn
There's
fielding.
That's part of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
You have to go back. And
the
listen.
cornfield, it's like give it time, because they're only about an inch tall now, and so like haven't even had to deal with the earwigs,
Right.
or the army worms, or like it's coming.
Right.
But anyway, I notice my gate is wide open, and I mean wide open. This is the gate that keeps the cows in. Okay. This is the gate. This is the one thing that is holding the cows in where they're supposed to be. It's an important,
Gate.
it's an important piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
and it is wide open. And I think, oh man, one of the kids this morning left it open, which I think that's okay, because during the morning, when the day's getting warmer, the cows mostly stay in the shade. They don't even come out to this part of the yard until the evening. So it's all right, no big deal. But I'm just going to go out and check, make sure they're still here. Sure enough, they gone. And I text my wife, Lady Pamela, and she's like, oh, we haven't been out there. And now it's like more. So I pull up the camera, my security camera, and sure enough, at about 12:40 in the morning, there is a cow in my front yard. And I sure do. And I recognize that cow. That's my cow in the front yard. So I go and track them all the way to the street, and this is not what I was planning to do on a Friday,
Right.
to drive around looking for my cows. And it was a great reason to meet all the neighbors that I haven't met yet.
Yeah.
They were gone for about 2 days. I finally located them yesterday, borrowed a drone from a buddy and was flying it all over place. Was able to eliminate places I was suspecting they might be. They weren't. Finally, I found them. They had worked their way in with another herd about 1.5 miles down the road. So I went and got them back. They're safe and sound. They got to eat somebody else's grass for a while, so in the end, everything's okay.
I
But
wonder if the grass is greener.
probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's like I said, the cows, they keep on giving as far as good stories to tell.
You thought they were gone.
Yeah, and we called, the animal control guy came, and he was he was trying to convince us that they were stolen. He probably sees more like animal theft than I certainly don't ever see any animal theft, but he was convinced that they were stolen because our gate, it was so wide open. You wouldn't the cows, and it's still a mystery. Maybe we don't know, like maybe some kids, just were into just causing trouble, opened the gate. We don't know.
You gonna put a camera out there? You should.
I'm gonna put a gate sensor out there. Yeah, I'm gonna maybe check out some of what I can do with the I already have 5 cameras, so and only one of them caught. You would have had to go right by 3 of them, and 2 of them didn't see anything. So who knows? Who knows what happened? But this way there'll be a gate sensor, and if the gate opens, the alarm will go off.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because whenever I talked to you so I left for the weekend, and so I talked to you on Friday, and you were like, yeah, they're gone. And you were.
I mean, I was pretty low.
Yeah.
I hit a low spot.
You were lower than this lowland.
Yes, indeed. In fact, I was like literally praying about it, like, Lord, in the Old Testament, people would sacrifice bulls. I guess today I'm sacrificing 2. You can have them, Lord, but please bring them back. But if you don't, I give them to you.
But I really would like them back.
The Lord is merciful. He's so merciful.
Well, I'm glad Oreo and Inky are back.
Me too. Me too. They're in timeout.
Yeah.
They're going to be disciplined, but at the end of the day, they're good cows. Okay.
Got hamburgled.
Oh. What's the deal?
Well, you're not on. It's go up there to that right there.
How'd that happen?
I don't know.
All right.
Do you like how I fixed that though?
Yeah.
Just instantly
That's
new.
great. That was really great.
Just
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. We haven't talked about the whiskey yet, and before we get there, I had a dream.
Like a Juan Posada type of dream?
No, nobody has dreams like Juan Posada. But this is a pretty good dream.
Okay.
I don't remember many of the details, as is often the case with dreams. You just like a dream, it's always in the middle. It's always media res. Cheers. Media. Yeah, so it's always like in the middle of, it's like you find yourself here doing something. I was like driving up a hill or something. I was going, I think I was driving up a hill. And when I got to the top of the hill, and I don't remember if I was praying or what I was doing, but the Lord, like, let me feel his love for me in like a just overpowering way, where I was like, all of my senses were just like expanded, and it was like the single most joyful thing I'd ever experienced. This is what's happening in my dream. And it was just amazing. And it blew my mind, like overload with happiness. And it lasted like 5 seconds in my dream. And then the dream went on. And then in my dream, I was trying to figure out, like, did that actually happen? Or was that a dream? And I wasn't wondering that in real life. That's just what I was wondering about in my dream. Right. But anyway, I remember, like sometimes you don't remember things about your dream. And I don't remember anything else that happened in the dream, but I remember that happening. And I can like remember how it felt. It was incredible.
Dude, I have dreams like that all the time. Like for instance,
do you?
Yeah, like last night I had a dream and I couldn't make it out for sure, but I thought like, is orange a color or a fruit?
Yeah. Did you smell it?
No, I wish I would have. Mm-hmm. But I have dreams like that all the time.
Were you trying to figure something out? Is that what you mean?
No, I was just joking.
You're just making.
I don't have those kind of dreams at all.
I don't either. I mean, I have dreams. I think just like everybody else. Some people don't ever remember their dreams. I'm just pretty regular. I don't remember them every day, but sometimes I do. But this dream was remarkable.
That's incredible.
It was, dude.
I don't know what to say about
It was
that.
like it was amazing. So praise God for.
Yeah. What do you think about the whiskey?
I think it's very good. There's not anything like that's really standing out about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pleasant and enjoyable.
It is about $50.
Okay, I like it.
So I don't know if that helps with the yummy scale or not.
It does. Yeah, for me, it does.
Right.
It definitely does for me.
It definitely does for Jim. Which
Does
we found out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he actually increased his yummy score once he found out
The price point.
it was lower. Yeah,
So
a couple weeks ago.
yeah, I think it's very good. It has a sense of apricot on the nose. It has a very nice finish. It's not long, but lowlands are very. There's a lot of similarities in lowlands and highlands. In fact, the process of the pot still the process of highlands and lowlands are the same, so they're going to have a lot of the same characteristics.
It just really seems like these few distilleries wanted to stand out a little bit, so they gave themselves, we're a lowland, but it's really a highland.
It's location.
Yeah.
So
I mean, because there's not really much different. I mean, it's sort of like Speyside, Highland. It's not like, an Isla whiskey, or an island whiskey, or, it's like, where these are clearly different products and different genres.
it'd be very hard to blind taste test this with a.
I would definitely think it was a Highland whiskey.
Right. Yeah. So I'm headed to Baltimore this week.
Okay. For the communications conference.
Yep, going to the communications conference, giving a talk there. I'm excited. As I was trying to figure out how I was going to structure my talk, and I'm still in that process.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what are the ways in which I want to communicate this talk.
Okay.
And I was going back to our boy that we've talked about before on the show, that I butchered his name up front.
Uh-huh.
And Deacon Garlic just
what is it? How did he say to say it?
it's because I think I said Sertalanges or something like that. Isn't that what I said?
I don't know.
At
I
the
don't
first
remember.
time.
Let's be honest. Word name pronunciations is not your strong suit.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Sertalange.
Sertalange.
Yes, it's because it's French.
I like French names because you can just really swing at them.
And
Just like, hey, give it a lot.
right.
Sertalange. You can just kind of throw those guttural sounds at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just add on some extra ones.
And
And
just
it's,
see what happens.
you know what? It doesn't sound wrong.
Right.
Sertalange. That, because that could be the way they say it. You don't know. What, do you speak French or something?
I do not.
No.
But he has a great book called The Intellectual Life. It's Spirits, Conditions, and Methods. It's there goes my bookmark. That's okay. It's a really good book if you're looking to understand how to organize your thoughts, how to read, how to organize your life, your external life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I referenced. I remember reading something in there talking about concentration, and I wanted to go back and get the quote correct. And as I was going through it, there was another chapter in there that I realized, you know what, this would be a really good episode.
Okay.
And so I pulled, from him and talking about organizing your life. The organization of life is what he calls it. And he talks about arranging your exterior life, like how are you supposed to, as a man, or as one who's taking his vocation seriously, as a man who is pursuing, the intellectual life. Which we all should be doing,
right?
As Catholic men. He said he tries to talk about how do you arrange your exterior life? Because as we will talk in here, you'll understand very quickly. He says how you arrange your exterior life really depends on how are you arranging your interior life.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I mean, I think that for most people, they know I need to have order. I need to, and often they know. Generally, that this is the order I should have. Mm-hmm. The problem is they lack often the willpower. Whatever level you've reached in your order in your life, this is kind of where your natural abilities, or wherever you've reached in your human development. Okay, your willpower to exercise self-control has brought you this far. Okay, and you could order it more. You could be more. And I'm like, when I'm saying this, I'm thinking about myself. Okay, I could have more order in my life. In the moment when it comes down to it, I'd simply like, well, I just don't. At the end of the day, my desires overcome my desire for order, right? You know, like,
Sometimes
I
you just
want.
gotta be honest about it.
Yeah, no, I'm totally. I agree. The things that I want, my appetites, are stronger than my own willpower. So, like the things we're going to be talking about today, having rules, having guidelines that maybe go beyond what you have established in your life.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can do is follow rules. Like I can do Exodus 90, okay? Because there's a rule. Oh, well, it kind of takes away my free will. Okay, it's not up to me to make that choice. Like for me, free will, it holds me back a lot. You know, but if I have a rule, and especially if it's like, oh, I'm doing it with people, like you know, if you know, we're all doing this as a fraternity or whatever. So as we talk about this today, I think would be wise to talk about this with your group of friends.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And say, hey guys, let's do this as a community, as the three of us brothers, or whoever you're really close. Not just like people from church. I mean, like the people that you are close with. Right. Maybe talk about this and say, what are we gonna? Let's be better together. Mm-hmm. How can we?
That's a great idea. In fact, it would be great to just get the book all together. I mean,
you could read it together as like a book.
Yeah, and it's not an expensive book. I mean, it's relatively short. It's about 100 or 250 pages. Uh-huh. But really, if you just you can pick and choose. It's not one of those books you have to read from the beginning to end. Uh-huh. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to read to help you in that moment.
Yeah. So anyway, just like having these additional like smaller segments of order, because I think in general you look at your life and it's like, oh, I have broad concepts and kind of like broad categories where I've ordered things in my life, mm-hmm. and the more you can segment them to look at and examine them more specifically, mm-hmm. The more clarity you'll have.
Right, the more you put it under a microscope, the more clarity
exactly.
you have.
You have more clarity in, oh, what should I be doing? It's like you don't realize I'm just kind of glossing over some of these things. Right. Looking at the big picture, which is good. I mean, you got to start there. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on. And so he talks about, at the beginning, he says, one word suggests itself here before any other. And he's talking about like how to organize your life. And he says, you must simplify your life. Which just hit me right between the eyes, because I'm not a man who's known to be have a simplified life. I don't think I'm known for that. I don't think that's one of my strong suits. I tend to have a lot of things going pretty much at all times. Yeah. I'm juggling a lot of balls. I'm doing a lot of different things. And so that really hit me pretty hard.
It's because you respond to more emails than me.
That's true.
You know what? Think about that. Think about that for a second. If you simply didn't respond to so many emails,
then we wouldn't have a lot of things.
You wouldn't be a very good communication director.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you have a lot simpler of a life.
Right. But he obviously makes it the caveat of saying, like, obviously that's not always doable.
It's not always. Yeah, actually, I see it. I was going to say it's not always possible.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you just look. You have to
take this on.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in prayer and you realize, like, God has put this in front of me and this is what He is calling me to do, and I do not want to get up, on my judgment day and God say, hey, I put this in front of you to move my kingdom forward, and you just sat on your hands.
Right.
We only have a certain amount of time here in life. It's fleeting.
And the simplest thing of all things is to follow the will of God. I mean, there is nothing more simple than that. I simply will say yes to what it is.
So he breaks it down into 4 different categories that we'll go over. We'll start on the other side of the break.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We're having a dram of Glenkinchie, 12-year. It's a nice lowland scotch.
It really is nice. I feel like I didn't
give it enough credit.
Yeah, I feel like the words I said about it earlier were saying like, oh yeah, it's I actually really like it. I think it's very good, especially for $50. Like,
it's a nice one. It's also a nice one for like, it's not as well known as far as the
right. Yeah, if you give this to somebody, which $50 is like that's for a Scotch, it's a good price point. They're probably not going to have it in their,
which is nice to have.
Yeah,
like,
in their collection.
Right.
Collection.
So we're talking about arranging your exterior life, the organization of life.
Yeah, I just want to like kind of what we were talking about a second ago, if I may.
Please.
About simplification.
Okay,
because this is a rule of thumb. To what was it? One word suggests itself here before any other. You must simplify your life. Okay, and this is a rule. Like I said, it's a rule of thumb. This is not like a all the time thing. That is not a universal rule.
Okay.
So because think about some of the great saints, the greatest saints, people like Joan of Arc, who have accomplished the greatest things. They didn't do simple things. Okay. The simpler thing for Joan of Arc, if just on a natural assessment, would be don't go to war. That's a lot simpler than going to war, right? She did some very complicated, arduous things in her life, but she did them for a simple reason. Because,
That's right.
because the Lord called her to do it, okay? And so this is why prayer life is important. We talk about this a lot, right? You have to be in touch with the Lord's will in your life. You have to have that daily submission every morning, right? Where you're throwing yourself at his feet and saying, what are you asking of me today? And being ready to say yes.
I think that's
because
great.
That is the simpleness.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction because a lot of times when you hear the word simple, you think the synonym there is easy.
Yeah.
And that's not true, right? Just because it's a simple thing doesn't mean it's the easy thing to do. It's really like, it's doing the thing that you're going to do well. Right.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily opposed to complexity. We talk about that God has a simplicity to him.
Divine simplicity.
Right, but he's obviously the most complicated thing in existence. I mean, he's like this triune, right? So he can be simple while also have a lot of moving parts. It doesn't take away from his divine simplicity.
I'm gonna bail you out here just in case we don't get.
But I just
heresy.
right. But
I don't want it.
I just want to say that that's not what we're not talking about simplicity, meaning has fewer moving parts or
the less arduous.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. So the first thing he talks about is the framework of your exterior life.
Okay.
This is like, let's build out your exterior life.
Broad to specific.
So let's talk about the framework of your life. And this first part really hit me again hard because he says the wise and peaceful work must not be associated with the noisy or spasmodic interruptions of a life all on the outside. So I do this all the time where, it's like, okay, good. I get to go do work outside, like my yard work or whatever. Now I get to listen to other things. Now I'm getting to...
Yeah. I do that too. Listen to audiobooks
or I catch
when
up
I'm
on
mowing the
podcasts.
lawn.
Right, yeah, and doing all these things. And, something that always hit me was your father-in-law, Dan O'Brien. He was talking to me one day at Clear Creek. We were doing some work, and he said, like, my dad always told me don't ever hire anybody who listens to music while they work.
Or smokes a pipe.
Which
is too bad because a lot of my favorite people smoke pipes. Right. Sorry, guys. Can't hire you.
But there's some truth there that as you're doing your work, you're focused on, you're allowing your mind to also just
be distracted.
Yeah.
I cannot, I can do monotonous tasks and listen to music or something else. But if I'm doing something detailed, I absolutely cannot listen to music. I mean, for me, it 100% slows me down. And this is something like I have thought about a lot, and sometimes like my conscience doesn't accuse me of, but kind of brings up and makes me question and ponder about, there is nothing wrong, morally speaking, from listening to a good book while you mow the lawn. There's nothing wrong with that. However, it does seem like there's a peace or a simplicity maybe about never doing more than one thing at a time. Just always simply doing one thing. Right now, I'm mowing the lawn because it's good to mow the lawn. And by bringing in other goods like an audiobook, kind of says, what it ends up doing is saying the good of mowing the lawn is not good enough. Okay? Not for me. I need more goods or better goods or something. I'm too good to mow the lawn, right? When that's not true, okay? We're like, the mowing the lawn, it's your lawn, and you are called to mow it. And there is a goodness and a vocation here. And by bringing in other things, we're it's a chadia or a acedia, where it's like, no, I need more. I need the noonday devils. It's like starting to creep in. And so this is what always kind of bugs me about, should we even be, no matter how good the book is,
right?
Should we do one thing at a time always? Should that be a rule of life? Never do more than one thing? I don't know.
And it's very challenging for, you were just talking about a little bit ago, like there's parts of me that, my desires just like,
They win.
Yeah. And like I want
I'm like fighting losing battles a lot of times.
Right.
I win a lot of them, but I lose plenty.
You know what? Another one that's may not be popular to some of our listeners, but I'm going to say it anyway, is like adoration. You go to adoration. Are you bringing a book?
Yeah.
Are you listening to even something good like Bible in a year, or Catechism in a year, or something like that in adoration?
I'm very opposed to technology in adoration.
Well, but I know people that do it, and there's no judgment there from my end. But
sure.
I'm just saying, like, is that really the thing we should be doing?
Right.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, let's just,
because you want to talk about goods, higher goods or lesser goods,
right?
It's like you're here with the Lord,
right?
And you're distracting your mind. Your intellect is being, distracted with these clearly infinitely lesser goods,
right?
Now
there's times,
and I too will bring books sometimes. My intent is always to like, I'm gonna like use this book like
to move you
as a like meditation, like but it never goes like I want it to go. I want to, the Intro to the Devout Life. That's a one I bring to adoration a lot. To like, as soon as I read something that
it captures you,
that does like, lifts my mind. Okay, stop.
Right.
And now
let's use that.
Discuss that with the Lord. I never actually do that, right? Because I keep reading. It's like, oh yeah.
A lot of times I use one adoration hour a week. For just like, I'm not bringing anything. I'm just gonna be in front of you, Jesus. I'm just gonna sit here and pray, or kneel here and pray. And if nothing comes up, then it's okay. This is time well wasted. And I think I have another adoration hour where I bring a book, and I ask our Lord, like, hey, in your presence, will you please inspire me help me.
Actually, that's what I do. My Friday adoration hour, I bring nothing.
Okay.
My Monday adoration hour, I'll bring a book. It's sort of like when someone asked, I forget who it was, is it okay to smoke a cigar while praying? And he said, no, but it is a great idea to pray while smoking a cigar. Okay? So there's a big difference here. Like, this is your adoration hour. You need to guard that. Now, if you want to come to adoration more, like let's say I need to study, okay, or like whatever, and you want to go do that at adoration, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, go study in the presence of the Lord, right? But it's as long as you're guarding, like, I have this adoration hour that's for Jesus.
Right.
Beyond that, if you want to like do other things, because I've got my adoration hour. It's not like you have to have an adoration hour. You don't have to, but you really should. It's a great idea. So anyway, there's a difference there, and I think people get it.
So he talks about it's a duty of a thinker to make sure to guard and avoid any unnecessary distractions and noises. Like, it is our duty to make sure we do this.
So that is so hard.
Which is incredibly hard. So we talked recently about, remember when I was talking about distractions and like having things live rent-free in your head? Yeah. We had a lot of people asking us about this, even in the Council of Man. Was asking like, well, how do you avoid this? Well, he talks about you should not let yourself be entangled in a mesh of occupations which little by little monopolize your time, thought, resources, and powers. So, he's saying, like, you should not let things live rent-free in your head, right? And I don't have a good answer for this because I am incredibly guilty of having things live rent-free in my head. Like, when something bothers me or when I feel like that I have a good thought or like something has hit me in a unique way, I cannot really stop thinking about that. Even if I'm doing other things, it is constantly coming back. Like, I can't believe he said this to me, or I can't believe, how should I think about this? Different things will just continue to gnaw and eat at me. I don't think this is something that you struggle with at all.
I do. I mean, everybody struggles with this.
Yeah, but on a very much less degree.
I mean,
you just don't.
So I do struggle with. I don't have a lot of, because I kind of work for myself, sort of. I don't have like coworkers who would like. I don't have to interact or work together. So that work eliminates a lot of those situations for me. But I'll tell you, for instance, when my cows were gone, that was hanging over my head a lot. And I did get to the point where I said, Lord, I thank you for giving this to me. Because my solution is to remind myself sometimes many times that the Lord's will is good. Right. Everything he is doing in my life is for a good reason, and to thank him. And I'm terrible at thanking him in the trials, but when you have those little bitty trials, being grateful for them, that's the key.
Exactly. Just offering it, just continually to say, like, Lord, I don't want to think, I'm offering this up to you.
Yeah, thank you for giving this to me.
And I offer this up to you.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to make it through this.
Dude,
because we have a whole lot more.
Well, maybe we do a two-parter. I don't know, Adam.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see what time it is. Okay. I got 45 minutes. Okay. I got about 45 minutes.
I mean, we've got 12 minutes.
Right. And we're on halfway through number 1.
The Lord changed the world with 12 people.
Right.
Maybe we can do it with 12 minutes. I don't know.
I don't think so.
You, oh ye of little faith. Oh.
Because I really want to get into this thing that's going to take a long time. But I think it's worth it.
Isn't it so much better when you use Old English for stuff?
Oh, ye of little faith.
Like if you say, oh, you of little faith, you little faith man, it's just not quite the same. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan. We're having a fairly lively discussion about ordering your life.
That's right.
And you know what? It's coming to the surface. It's like, Adam, we got problems. All right. I don't know if you guys are like us, but we over here, we got problems. Yeah. All right.
We have some things we need to rectify in our lives. Okay, so I really want to get in, like, reading this. So
The Intellectual Life.
The Intellectual Life. He's a Dominican.
By
Sortilonge.
He's
a Dominican, and so he references this this little letter from St. Thomas Aquinas that led me down a little bit of a rabbit trail.
Okay.
Because I was not aware of it, and so I was like, "Is this, where is this? What is this origin? All this kind of stuff." So apparently, Thomas Aquinas wrote a letter to Brother John. I don't know if you know Brother John.
I don't, not personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wrote a letter to Brother John. Now, there's debate on whether or not it was authentic, if it was like from him or from one of his scribes or whatever. But Brother John was asking him how to order his intellectual life, like how to order the intellectual life.
Okay.
And then Aquinas, in his typical Aquinas faction, he says, "Well, there are 16 things." Now. And so I want to go, like, I want to talk about them because, and we won't like dwell on them, but I just wanted, like,
we haven't even started the 16 things.
No.
Okay. We got 12 minutes.
Right. But we won't go through all. I mean, remember he's writing this to a monk, or to a brother, and so, like, it does not everything applies to our lives, but I still think you can take it and apply the principle.
There's a truth there.
Right. So he talks about this. He says, "Since you have asked me on how I ought to study and order the massive treasures of knowledge, listen to the advice I'm going to give you."
Okay.
And he basically starts out by saying, do not start heavy. ease your way in.
Okay. Yeah.
He says, do not immediately get into the sea, so to speak, like the waters, but choose where to enter. And then, because easier we must come to the more difficult.
Yeah.
From the easy, we go to the difficult.
This is one of the things I love about Aquinas is that his advice, like, is so natural as well.
Right. Yeah. So he says, he's like, this is my warning, and this is the instruction. Do not start on heavy things.
Okay.
So then he says, he bids you slow to speak.
I don't like that one.
Next. What's the next one? He says, and slow to coming to a place of talking.
Like, does he mean literally a place? Like, don't go to the place where people are hanging out and talking?
I think what he means, like, as you continue, like, this is something that happens, as you learn more, what do you want to do? You want to share it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell you all about the thing that I've just been reading about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he means by this is, do not go out specifically to places just to have your intellectual,
Just to show off what you know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
He says embrace purity of conscience,
Okay.
which I think is awesome.
I also like that. It's like, am I doing that?
Right.
I'm not sure. Like, I hope so.
Right. And he says, then he follows it up with, do not cease to be praying.
Okay.
Because he sees the temptation of the intellectual life overcoming to the point, because it's intoxicating, right? Whenever you're learning more and more,
Right.
to disorder your life by stop praying so that way you can read or learn more.
Yeah, I agree.
And then he says, this is really cool. He says, love to keep your cell on a regular basis. Keep to your cell on a regular basis if you wish to be admitted to the wine cellar. Now, it's not what you think it means.
Okay.
The wine cellar is not an actual wine cellar.
Right.
So this is the wine cellar here is an allusion to the Canticle of Canticles and the commentary on Saint Bernard. That the secret dwelling place. It's the secret dwelling place of truth, of which from afar the perfumes attracts the spouse. That is fervent to the soul.
Okay. That is the fervent soul.
Yeah, that is I said to the soul, but fervent to a fervent soul.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And so he,
yeah, the silence. Keep
Right.
silence. I think that's
mhm.
because that's in his situation. That was, if you're in your cell, you're by yourself, solitude, fortress of solitude.
Right. But then he says, like, pay no heed to others' affairs, show your being amenable to everybody else, right? Do not overly familiarize yourself with people, basically, because it's a distraction to study. Now, this part, some of these get into the parts of a religious order versus the laity.
Yeah, and even with different types of religious orders, right? Like, because that would kind of seem to go against the idea of fraternity, which you need that fraternity. A lot of these so far are reminding me of St. Teresa of Calcutta's 15 rules for humility.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
In no way enter into sayings or doings of a secular person, which I think is hilarious. Above all, flee conversation. Do not omit it. Basically, he's just saying, like, I think there are times where you have to, like, pinpoint and say, like I gotta leave, like, I need to be disciplined and, like, leave.
Yeah, because there is like an appetite here. It's like just to go converse. Well, what are you Are you actually discussing truths,
right,
or are you just talking? Is it is it just small talk?
Right.
Which small talk is not helpful.
He also warns: do not consider from whom you learn. He basically says, like, if it's truth, take it. And this is from St. Paul too, right? And this is why a lot of times people did not like St. Thomas Aquinas, because he was pulling from Aristotle a lot, which was known at the time, to not be kosher as a Catholic, to be pulling from a pagan person.
Yeah.
And then he says a couple more, but one of them, he says, busy yourself to store whatever you are able to the closet of the mind, and desiring to fill the vessel. So continue, like, basically being able to be focused whenever you are learning about certain things.
Okay.
And then do not seek what is too high for you. So he bookends it with like the two things.
Yeah. What do they call? That's we did it. We did an episode on it. Like anyway, I'll think of it in a second. The word is escaping me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So he says like it's important to have a framework,
Mm-hmm.
and then he talks about now regarding obligations. The second one is obligations. So
Okay.
you have a framework. Now you have obligations in your exterior life, right?
Mhm.
This is a natural thing. Like now you built order somewhat in your life. Now you have obligations in your life
Right.
that you have to apply. And it says, and I love this part. He says, vocation means concentration.
Hmm.
The intellectual is consecrated. Let him not scatter himself in exacting futilities.
That's I like that.
Yeah. So again, what is your vocation? Your first vocation is to,
Right.
is
So here he's talking to a religious
Right.
who's ordered. His vocation is the intellectual life. Now we all have a calling to the intellectual life, but not in the same way
Right.
as a Dominican does.
Sure. But then, so what is your vocation? You know, okay, so I'm a son of God, and now I'm a husband, and then I'm a father,
Right.
and then like micro to macro, right?
Exactly. Broad to specific.
Broad to specific. It says, do not run after news that occupies the mind to no purpose. Now, this is something I think that he would just preach over and over and over again in this world,
Totally.
right?
Oh gosh.
You know, how often do we do that?
Right. And the things that we like care about on the news, like they have zero meaning in your life.
Right.
So often.
Right. And this is what he says. He says, do not busy yourself with the sayings and doings of the world, that is, with such to have no moral or intellectual bearing.
Right. Exactly. Like I watch the news all day. I'm a financial guy, so I keep the finance channel on.
Mm-hmm.
But like 90% of it really has zero importance. At the end of at your judgment,
Mm-hmm.
when you look back on all of that stuff, you're going to realize that was a total waste of my life and
Right.
time and mental energy. And I actually cared. I put emotional like chips on the table
Right.
for these things, you
That's
know?
right. This is okay. So then he talks about actually the duty of a wife. So he actually pivots.
That's weird.
He's
He's saying this he mentions this to
Yes.
this dude.
and probably to give advice. Like listen, if you have other men who are coming to you
It's
saying
like, all right, because he's gonna say like, well, if you encounter a layperson,
right.
make sure to tell them this. I'm
This.
not saying this to you,
Right.
but for them.
right, correct.
Okay.
So, and I think this is beautiful. So he says, he points out the importance of the wife of the man who is serious about his vocation, and points out how she should bring beautiful things shine beautiful things to him.
Okay.
And he uses the example of Beatrice in Dante.
Uh-huh.
So Dante the Pilgrim is going through and is being led by Beatrice up through purgatory into paradise.
Yeah.
And she continues to show the divine light to him in little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And so he says that the wife's duty to the man who's taking his vocation seriously is to continue showing the divine light to the man. Because the man is going to can get focused so much on the intellectual life for the sake of the intellectual aspect
Uh-huh.
that he needs to remember that this is for the love of God.
Sure.
And that she should be the one to show him the beauty and the goodness.
This is a huge summary because there's like a huge
Right.
deep dive here. Like, how does the wife do that
Right,
if she
this-
doesn't have her own intellectual life?
That's right.
There's like
there's a
all
lot.
kinds of things to talk
But
about.
I thought this was just so beautiful.
yeah.
That of the pairing of man and wife, that her duty in an aspect, and this
Yeah.
isn't like
and it also talks to the difference of the vocations of a husband and a wife, whereas the wife and women in general, they're ordered towards like the interior of the circle, right? You have to think about like a circle. The men think about things outside of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
The women all think about things inside of the circle, And so for them to be able to take those, remind their husbands of these, essentially the truths of love, which are what happening inside the circle. I get it.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. So
We're gonna keep talking about it.
we have to. We're out of time on Catholic Radio. Go check us out on the Catholic Command Show. Subscribe to our podcast. If you enjoy the show, give us a support from patreon.com/The Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
So he talks about how the wife needs to be buoying him up.
Different from booing.
Different from booing.
Yeah.
Buoying
Booing.
him up when he loses courage. When he like consoling him in disappointments,
Uh-huh.
soothing his sorrows, being his sweet reward after his labors. So and then he talks about how the importance of the man, to be guarding and shielding and protecting his wife and like her dignity and her honor and her beauty and to make sure that there's modesty and all these other things. I just thought how beautiful it was of the complementarity of the relationship and how each person has a duty and a service to the other person. They're again so complementary.
Right. No, I totally agree. That is very
and he
beautiful.
also says, and make sure to say this, which I thought was really cool because we talked about this not too long ago. He says, make sure to take interest in what they're doing.
And what the other one is doing? Is he saying that to both spouses or?
For both spouses.
Yeah.
Because one of the, in a previous episode, we talked about like how, being apathetic to what the spouse is doing is a recipe for disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't care, whatever you're going to do, I don't care. Like,
Right.
And not taking any like interest in what they're doing or what they feel, like their feelings or anything else.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah, apathy is the relationship killer.
Right. And so I thought it was just really beautiful that he had this insight of understanding like, and make sure that you guys take interest in one another.
Yeah.
Just think like what you guys want.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's like you're not going to be interested in everything that your spouse is doing.
Right.
And that's okay. And you can tell them that as long as they know that like, hey, but I'm interested in, like I think I used the example of the wedding invitations that we were sending out. Like I did not care if they were embossed or I don't even remember what the other one was. Raised. Yeah, raised or embossed. And I still to this day do not know the difference. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I am completely apathetic. But she was like and I was like, you know what, Pamela, I'm like really very interested in you. If you want me to decide.
The thing about me is I'm very interested in you.
Yes. Like, you are my number one interest. If you want me to decide between these things, I will do it, babe.
Yeah.
I will decide so fast. You won't even believe how fast I can decide between these two things. When I do, I want you to know it's totally okay if you want to change my decision. Because I don't care.
But I'm here for you.
But I'm here for you, right?
Right.
Like, I'm still taking I'm still, like, taking an interest,
right,
even though I'm not interested.
Right.
And she knew that, and that was fine.
And it was a relief.
Yeah. And I think I did decide. I don't remember what I chose because
You don't even remember?
Because they're the same. They're the same. I think I went with every other letter. Like I went every other.
I want one embossed,
raised,
one raised.
and then embossed. Raised and embossed.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I'll pay extra.
Sounds like a compromise.
I'm willing to pay a lot more.
Yeah. Maybe that's why our invitations are like $20,000.
Okay, so
they were not that much. I was kidding.
Right.
Just everybody knows.
I think everybody knew that.
I hope
so the framework, you have obligations, and then he talks about contexts, right? So you have like, this is again a micro to macro aspect, right? So you have to have your framework, and then like your obligations, and then after you have that, then it's like, okay, then the people around you. So how do you order this? So he makes a strong point that before giving out truth, you have to acquire it yourself. And do not waste the seed for your sowing.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this goes back to this whole idea is like listen, before you can go out and give, you got to make sure your prayer life is in check.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that people of a certain age, this starts to, like, this is something you will learn over time. This is wisdom, right? That when you're young, you think that, like, you think you know the world because you think it seems a certain way to you. Mm-hmm. And so you might share how, things seem this way. Mm-hmm. And I think as you get older, you realize, never tell anybody else the way the world seems to you, okay? There will come a time where you do actually know the way things are. And when that happens, you will know it. Mm-hmm. Because you have you realize that you were wrong, like
I used to think this way.
Right, yeah. And so unless you actually know, don't tell other people the way. I used to do this all the time. Well, it's like, it seems like blah, 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 blah. Like I would blah, blah, blah. And then I've seen myself be wrong in the things I've told other people so many times that, you eventually you learn, like, well, at least if you're going to say something, you need to couch it with, but like, hey, I have no idea.
Right.
You know, you're asking me, and so
I'm telling
you know,
you.
it's like
I'm going with
I would
raised-
ask somebody
I'm
else.
going with raised letters.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but he makes a caveat. He says like, hey, make sure that we're not pulling solitude, like we're not doing experiencing solitude for its own purpose.
Okay, explain that.
So he's
Because that
saying,
seems to be, seems like he was talking about solitude earlier. You know, like
but
with
the reason
spending time
no,
in the cell.
Well, the reason why you're doing that is for your own seed to be growing, to go out and evangelize.
Oh, I see. Solitude simply for solitude's sake.
Yes.
It was solitude for silence's sake, which is not solitude.
But it has to have a purpose. Is
Right.
what he's saying.
Exactly.
Like, there has to be a purpose for you going into solitude, right? So Christ goes out into the desert not just to get away from everybody.
Right. It's to be with be with God.
It's
To be in prayer. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Your silence is ordered towards God.
right. And there's a lot of it depends on your personality and like what you like. It's a lot easier for a lot of men to just say like, I'm just going to go retreat.
Yeah.
And go into a little cell or whatever else. A lot of introverts are like that, right? Like you, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says one can only achieve union with anything through interior liberty.
Can only achieve union with anything through interior liberty.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So he says, like, Jesus shows us that one can be entirely recollected, like you can go
Yeah,
back.
because if you're not free to give yourself, then you can't.
But you have to be entirely devoted to others.
Right. Then you can't give yourself if you're not free.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, like, Jesus shows us the best way of, like, retreating, to go pray.
Uh-huh.
But for the sake of others.
Right.
Jesus always doing things for the sake of others.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's an episode that I want to do here really soon on
Wait, don't say it.
on
I'm just kidding.
on the agony of the garden,
Okay.
and it is mind. Have you read any of the church fathers on the agony of the garden?
Oh, bro, I've read all of them.
Okay, well then it won't be.
I think I even wrote some of it.
Okay, well some of the things that they talk about in there and like his agony
Yeah?
is very interesting, like, and not what I was expecting.
No kidding.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's another episode we'll
Let's
do.
do it. Let's do
But-
it right away.
So he talks about, he says, he who thinks himself united with God without being united to his brother is a liar.
Yes.
He says he is a false mystic and intellectually a false thinker. So again,
Wow. That's pretty strong.
This is very strong. But again, he's really bringing home the
But,
point that this solitude, this like, you can't have this like intellectual masturbation of of all these things.
That's also a strong term. I know what you mean by that. I think a lot of people won't know what you mean. Guys, don't worry. It's a fine term to use. But like Paul, is it Paul? No. Christ talks about this. Like, if you have a quarrel with your brother, leave your gift at the altar. Go be reconciled to your brother. Mm-hmm. Then come back. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you need to have this union. If you're not in union, if you think you're in union with God, but not with your brother, then you're a liar. I mean, and I think there's other verses in the Bible that kind of say the same thing.
Yep, and so does Aquinas. Not that they're on the
Not
same.
that that's as important,
Right, but not that they're the same. But so he just talks about how like we're not made for individualists. Like we're not individualists. We're not we're made for communion, and that friendship brings out beauty and art and deeper resources of obtaining the truth and knowledge of God.
Nice.
So he really drives home the point of the importance of having true, good, holy friends, which again, it's kind of a thing for
because
us.
we're made for communion.
Right. So then he talks about, so we have framework, then we have obligations that we have within the framework, and then we have, the people around us, and then he talks about like our setting itself,
Okay.
like the place,
the where we are.
Yes. And he says all great works were prepared in the desert, including the redemption of the world. So interior, like so he's focusing on like he talks about how you have to have this retreat. You know, whether that's one corner in your house, whether that's, you know, the chapel, wherever this is, but you have to have this desert that you go to, so to speak.
Yeah.
For interior solitude and silence. That, and again, I think this is the whole purpose of this whole routine of the intellectual life. Like, are you a disciplined man to where you get up in the morning and you have a place that you go for prayer and study before you start your day?
Right. Pope St. John Paul II talked about this in his theology of the body, in what he called original solitude. There's so much in the theology of the body. We could never really do it justice on the show. We kind of talked about it. We actually did a couple episodes on original solitude.
With Father Chris Petrashko.
It was with him?
Yeah, 2 episodes. Episode 100 and 101.
No kidding.
Go back.
Nice. Well,
what do you think about that memory recall?
It's impressive. I thought we did it. No, because I also did it on the theology of the body without him. I did an episode, I know.
I'm sure you did.
With just you and I, where we went through like kind of the basic, like sort of this original solitude, original nakedness. But there's a lot here. Like when you go and you read a lot of there's so much rich commentary on the creation accounts, right? And what does it mean that Adam was alone in the garden? That Adam, like, and it's mind blowing if you've never like really read through it. But it's so important into saying who is man, okay? And I think Aquinas is really getting at a deep foundational truth here about. Because when you're establishing these orders and these things, it's like, well, it's important to have what we call an adequate anthropology, a full understanding, an adequate understanding of who man is. And so this, where was it? All of these great works were prepared in the desert, you know, in interior solitude and silence. Yes, it's so important that we know about that we're these individual beings made for communion, and that the way we create and the way we go about doing things well is ordered in this way.
Absolutely. In fact, he says, without retirement, without solitude, there is no inspiration.
I like it.
So then he talks about, we've talked about a lot of this before, but he talks about when peace, which is tranquility of order, puts order in your thoughts, feelings, and investigations, you are in the supreme disposition for learning. So he's, so again, your setting, really, the place that you are in really dictates, like, the order in which your thoughts happen, and order in which, like, your feelings, like, everything happens based on, like, do you have a place to go?
This is why learning and leisure are intimately related. Like, what is it? I forget what it is, but like
Joseph Pieper.
College, or like there's something about like the word. It's maybe scholastic. I don't.
School.
Is that what it
about
is?
Leisure and school?
Yes.
So they're
Latin like the same word.
They're the same word. Skull, which is for school.
School. That's what it is.
It's Latin skull. SCOL. Yeah, I think is what it is.
Yeah, I don't care.
But it's for school.
And it means leisure. Right. Exactly. Okay, so this is exactly what he's saying here, is that without this peace, without a leisure, then you're not going to be ready to learn. You know, and if you go to college, you probably don't. You actually have a lot of leisure. When you're at college, I don't think you often realize how much leisure you have. But well, you could have anyway. Right. You could have. You have the opportunity for so much, because you basically have no responsibilities.
Right.
Other than showing up to class, and even those, if you don't do, you still can get good grades. But
don't recommend it.
But those things, they're intimately linked. That if you're anxious, if you don't have like rest, then you're not going to be able to learn very well.
Right. So he talks about how, and this is kind of the conclusion here. He says that solitude is the homeland of the strong, and silence is their prayer.
This is exactly why Superman had a fortress of solitude, because he was so strong. I mean, without it,
apparently,
he'd just been a regular dude.
So this was again in typical Catholic Man Show fashion. The things that I'm talking about are self-reflections of myself and trying to make trying to grow myself in the virtuous life and order my life in an appropriate way.
I just keep waiting, bro.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm just waiting on your world to change.
Waiting on the world. But I really did like how he broke it out into 4 parts, right? The framework,
Yeah.
the obligations that you have, the people that you're around, and then the setting in which you do all these things.
I think you're getting bigger. I think it should be the other way around. Your hands, they're getting bigger. I think they should be getting smaller. The framework,
Well, but it's like you to other people and place.
Well,
Interior to go at
it is that way, but it's also broad to specific.
Broad, specific.
At the same time, you know what you could do is you could have one hand go out while the other hand. So it just looks like you're shifting your hands over. You know what? Forget about it.
Yeah, that was stupid.
You know what? The hands aren't important.
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Check us out on YouTube, guys.
Anything else you have? I mean, that was kind of. I just wanted to talk about that.
No.
I have a lot of other
think
things.
it's really good.
I
like
kind of skipped several things for the sake of time.
The Intellectual Life.
It's a phenomenal
by
book.
Sturlanger.
But
OP.
it is a difficult book. It's not something that is.
This guy's dead, right? He's not alive.
That's correct. Yes.
Like probably dead a while.
Even the person who wrote the foreword has passed away. Father James Scholl, which is one of the best Jesuits, I think, in my opinion.
Different Father James Jesuit.
It's a different Father.
Totally different guy.
Yes. Father James Scholl, if you are an intellectual and you have not ran into Father James Scholl, anything that he writes is well worth your time in reading.
Because of the other James,
it may not be.
I wouldn't call an intellectual. Just this personally. This personal choice.
Who are you? Never mind. You know what? Turn it off.
Quick!
Yeah.
Turn it off!